Welcome to the Pimp My Setup highlights for episode number 213. First set of the day was submitted by Adam. Your initial thing in your email was thinking about getting a new desk. And honestly, I don't think you need a new desk. I think, yes, it does look a little bit older, and not even older, it just looks a little more executive. Considering you're 13 and you're going for a blue and black theme, you don't normally have a desk like that. Out of sight, out of mind, usability, all that stuff, you did a great job. I think the walls could use a little bit of maybe something to go on the opposite side of the main piece above your monitor. That would probably help kind of balance it out. Adam scored a 76. The next setup was submitted by Ben. I think a lot of people are going to agree with me here. I'm not a fan of where you decide to put yourself. I don't think it makes sense, especially considering how big your desk is. Usually people will say, and we'll see that later on, that they use a specific side for one thing and they need that open desk space. But here, nothing was said about that. If you were to just center yourself out, your setup would look way bigger. It would probably feel a lot nicer. Ben scored an 80. The next setup was submitted by James. Pretty damn good. I like how clean it is. Now, I do think you're missing out on having speakers, which is something I'm going to say throughout the rest of the show. And some people are going to say they don't need them. But I'm just saying, from putting everyone on an equal playing field, that's something we would like to see. And of course, somewhere to put your headphones would also be ideal. One thing I would possibly do, depending on what the rest of the room looks like to the right side on that first photo, is rearrange the posters just so it's a little more symmetrical. One of the posters is being covered by the shelf. Put the landscape Pulp Fiction poster dead center to the desk, and then have the other ones on the sides. That way they're not being covered. It just looks a little bit neater and kind of goes with the flow. James scored a 78. The next setup was submitted by Urban Chaos. When he games, he's using his PS4, not his iMac. So for all the haters, you can back the train up, okay? He barely listens to music, which is why he said he only uses his iMac speakers, but I don't care. Gorgeous, epic, awesome. You name the word that has to, it's a synonym of epic, and yes, it applies here. But with that said, we're here to critique the actual setup, desk setup itself. That would be really boring to work at. I feel like maybe, yes, it's easier for him to focus on the work at hand, but I feel like accessories, he doesn't really have anything.
I feel like if you're a graphic designer, don't you want like another monitor to like work off of, or is that different for everybody?
I prefer, I'm not like the best graphic designer in the world, but I'm going to college for that, so I probably shouldn't be talking shit about myself. I need multiple displays, at least another one. You break it down category by category, it's just missing a little bit of oomph. But aside from that, absolutely insane. Urban Chaos scored a 94. The next setup was submitted by Lucas. Ooh, damn! That is a cool room. That is an insanely cool room. Dark gray wool that he has really plays a big part of making this look badass. Different patterns for cars, which is awesome. I've seen a lot of different art like that. It looks really, really nice. But he really said in his email that he loves cars. But then we go to his actual setup, and I don't see any car-related things.
I wish you could show it off on the desk, but I understand with the space.
Yeah, it helps with cable management, and also, the only spot he would really put it is that right spot where his laptop is. Lucas scored a 96. The next setup was submitted by Nicholas. Staying on this photo, he's 11 years old, which already blew our minds back on episode 197, and he said that he wanted to put a lot of time and effort into actually finishing his setup, because I gave him a lot of crap saying, look at, you got the empty space for the poster, and you started to do foam in the acoustic foam in the far left corner, all these different pieces, you didn't make the damn bed for the photo, you didn't do any of that. Focusing on those cables, and we got a quick zoom in there just to kind of take a little mental snapshot, and the posters, the foam, great. I don't think you got the memo about the cables, and I hate to say it, but that's like a big part of your setup. Now, that doesn't change the fact that Out of Sight, Out of Mind is not great. Stacks of games, the Apple Watch box, the usability of the speakers, something I really tried to make known in the last critiquing. You didn't do anything with that. You got to put some time towards cable management, and if you don't want to, what you really need to do is pull the desk forward a little bit, a curtain or something thick that you can staple along the back so that it hides everything on the floor, and then everything that's on top of the desk in terms of cables needs to be thrown behind. Nicholas scored a 64. The next setup was submitted by Alex. Now, this was his setup on episode 177. Let's go check it out. Brand new setup. I think it's cool you got the pop vinyls there. They kind of help you know, put a little bit of oomph. We're used to seeing canvases where like the print quality is shit. You said you like to play CSGO. Is it weird? Now, I'm not a CSGO player. Is it weird that you don't have a primary display, but rather two? Does it make it harder to play? Because I would assume you're like this, like looking to the side, kind of like doing your thing. So let me know, CSGO players, do you like it? Alex scored a 92. The final set of the day was submitted by George. Looking under the monitors. That's sort of my first issue, I guess you could say. You know, putting the camera and the lenses and really the full out guy and the can and all that. Not a good spot. I don't think that works, especially in the first photo. You can see how most of it's cut off and sort of behind actual displays. You know, they're down and pointing up, which is obviously a personal preference. Maybe you're like a lot taller and you like seeing it from that angle, but I always tell people kind of curve them in a little bit. Now, the TV itself, I would assume your bed is behind you. Therefore, that's why the TV with bezels fatter than your mom are there. Obviously, wire mold is always something you can do. And then the left side of the wall, I think a little bit of something bigger, maybe with a little bit
I'll
more.
just put a floating shelf there and put the stuff that you have on your desk on there.
There you go. You can do that. George scored a 74. Lucas walked away with first place with a 96. Thanks for watching the Pimp My Setup highlights for episode number 213.